So, if you are tuning in, we are about to dive into our thoughts on the Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credits scene. If you want to hear our thoughts on the whole film, go ahead and click the link below to hear the whole episode. You can also listen to the whole thing wherever you get podcasts. So, without further ado, here we go, and we're going to get into the Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene. None of us had this spoiled for us before we saw this, right?
No. I knew that they premiered this and like some convention in Brazil. Fans absolutely lost their minds, but like posted the crap out of it on Twitter. So like I actively avoided it. But I had a feeling that something somewhere was going to tie into Spider-Man.
Yeah. I went to see this with my brother who knew about it. He knew what the scene was, and he's like, I'm just here for the post-credit scene. I'm like, okay. So I didn't know about it until I saw it in the theater with everyone else. And then Ryan, you didn't know about it, right?
I wasn't actively trying to stay away from anything about this movie. It's just my, entertainment circles never talked about it. So,
okay. So, if you're watching this or listening and you haven't seen the film, at the end of the film, Eddie and Venom are transported into the MCU for what I assume is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Can we just talk about the fact? I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but there are interviews out there with Amy Pascal, who kind of has like been spearheading Spider-Man since 2002.
Oh yeah.
And Kevin Feige doing interviews, and someone was like, "Is Venom in the MCU?" And her immediate reaction was yes. And Kevin Feige's reaction is just like, "What?"
Yeah.
What?
No, I talked about that. I talked about that with my brother. Like, it's amazing how far we've come since that was 2017 when they were doing press for Homecoming.
Yeah.
There were even interviews for this movie where they were asking Andy Serkis and Tom Hardy together, like, do you think Venom will ever interact with Spider-Man? And Andy Serkis and Tom Hardy was like, I mean, I don't know if anyone really wants to see that. Maybe somewhere down the line it'll happen. And then Tom Hardy just looks right into the camera and goes, like that, like it's like Tom Hardy's been like I think Tom Hardy and Tom Holland working together before and things like Locke and some other stuff, they have a respect for each other. I think they've wanted this to happen, and I think that's part of the reason it did. But as soon as I heard J. Jonah Jameson's voice, my jaw dropped. Like that's when I knew. Like as soon as I could see him, I was like, I don't remember him being that bald in the thing. And it's kind of hard to see him when you first see the TV, but man.
Yeah, it's I mean, this all but confirms now that we are gonna get Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and a slew of previous Spider-Man villains in the MCU now. This I think, to me, what is ultimately very humorous about this is that people are like losing their minds and acting so surprised by this, but you look at everything the MCU has released this year on Disney Plus, with the exception of Black Widow, everything has been building towards a multiverse. Everything, even Shang-Chi, to an extent, has been building towards the multiverse.
Yeah.
And so now this post-credit scene confirming that, oh, they were in a different timeline. I'm almost curious if like the events of this take place within the Maguire, because tonally speaking, they're kind of on the same spot. Where do you guys think this originally takes place?
I would think it would take place in the Garfield universe over Tobey Maguire, because you already had an Eddie Brock in the Tobey Maguire universe.
Fair. Okay.
You already had the Venom symbiote. I think the Venom's lines before they are transported about the hive mind and having all of this knowledge from across universes is key to this post-credit scene where he sees Spider-Man and says, "That guy," and then licks the screen. I think Venom's aware of who Spider-Man is, and I think that's going to be key going forward.
Or do you think that this just takes place in no existing universe, and they're,
I mean,
they're
that
now
if it
shaping it into the MCU?
if it was in its own universe, that's fine. If it's going to be in a universe that we've already seen, I'm going to say it's the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man universe, where we haven't seen J. Jonah Jameson, but the Daily Bugle exists. And I just feel like that's the universe that they would be in if that was the case.
It also makes the most sense to have it in that way, because when you think about, we're a couple months away from Morbius. Morbius is taking place within the Maguire universe. So
that's not confirmed.
It's speculated.
It's speculated. Well, it's weird. Like, I don't know what Sony's endgame is. Like, I don't know what's going to happen after No Way Home, because
it's also weird to judge that, because Morbius was supposed to come out before No Way Home.
No, it was supposed to come out before Venom. Like, that was supposed to be the film that we saw before this. And I think the reason that this film, like, I hinted about this a bit when we were talking about the movie in general, but I feel like the reason it's cut, like, it's so short, and like Sony was kind of pushing this out, is because they want to get, like, Spider-Man is coming out in December. They have to have this film out before then for it to make sense. Like, that's why this film came out when it did, and why they kept moving around the release date to be before No Way Home.
So do you think in that case, like, Morbius just completely stands on its own now?
I mean, I don't know, because you have Michael Keaton in there as Vulture, so it's hard to tell.
It could also, because there is that one particular scene that fans have screen capped and studied in the trailer for Morbius with the Maguire Spider-Man. So like you said, like, it's not confirmed, but it's highly speculated. Yeah. Well, I'm almost curious if, like, they're spinning it now to take place after No Way Home, and all of the Spider-Man are gonna exist in one universe.
That could be. From my understanding, that image of Spider-Man, yes, it is the Tobey Maguire suit. It is the exact pose that they used for the Tobey Maguire suit in the Spider-Man PS4 game. So I think that was just kind of, that's just something Spider-Man that they pulled. So I don't know if I don't think it's going to be in the Raimi universe. But Ryan, you're being awfully quiet. Do we need to catch you up?
I have really nothing to use. See, I have a line, because when it comes to this stuff, and you guys are right now on the other side of a fence that I just am, when it comes to this topic and superheroes and everything, you guys are on one side of the fence, and I'm on the other, just kind of twirling my pen.
Okay.
I'm on the other side.
So then I'll mention what you said to me when we left the theater. We get out to Ryan's car, and he's like, "So what? Is this Spider-Man movie going to be like 5 hours long then?"
Yeah.
With everyone who's going to be in it, because this is who we know so far. We know Jamie Foxx is in it. We know Alfred Molina is in it, and now it's safe to assume Tom Hardy's Venom is in it. So that is 3 out of the 6 that you need for a Sinister Six.
Oh, you think that they're gonna put Venom in a Sinister Six?
This is what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to have their Sinister Six money shot with the 6 villains fighting Spider-Man or Mans, and I think Eddie and Venom will realize that Peter is not the bad guy that they think he is, and then they will change teams and then go over to fight alongside Spider-Man or Spider-Mans. That's my theory.
So you think that it'll be 6 initially, and then it'll be 4 against 5.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so like I don't know, because like the trailer has also hinted at, and it's not even speculated. And like I said, I don't watch a whole lot of trailers, but I did watch this one.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like not even being like that big into comics anymore, this still is one of my favorite versions of this character. I love Spider-Man. So you have Sandman, the Lizard, Doc Ock, of course, Electro.
Yeah. Do we have the lizard though? Because
There are
is
screen caps that
there,
I've seen.
there, but they're so dark and it looks like a character was removed from them. Is that where we actually get Venom instead of Lizard?
Ooh, okay, it's possible.
Because like looking at those screenshots, it's very hard to tell if that is Lizard. And they had like, I don't know. Like, I think the whole Kirk Connors Lizard storyline can be addressed in the MCU down the line. So I don't really need it. Like, that's such an interesting dynamic. I want to see it explored more than just in Amazing Spider-Man. I kind of want that shot to be where they took Venom out of it, and then like when they released that trailer with that shot again, you actually get to see Venom coming at Peter Parker.
I like that a whole lot more. I do think that, like, for me, like, being a Spider-Man fan, I think that I get a lot of crap for this, but I think that, like, that the Lizard's kind of wasted in that first Amazing Spider-Man movie. So, like, I would want to see him, and he's such a fascinating character that I would for sure want to see him come back in the MCU.
Ryan, are you excited for Spider-Man No Way Home?
No, I am. I am. Yeah, it's it's getting to the point with me when it comes to like having this show tie into this show also ties in, like having 2 shows possibly tie into this, 2 movies setting up for this. After everything that happened between Iron Man and Endgame, and I know that I've been kind of making these statements since like I think Phase 2. I think when I first made my comment like about like 5 years ago about how it feels like these movies are coming off an assembly line, to like where I am now, like I'm interested in this stuff and I want to see it, but it's getting to the point where if I'm going to have to watch this series and this series and this movie and this movie so I can understand exactly what's going on in the movie that I actually do want to see, that's what's going to get me to not care about these movies pretty soon.
I think what's going to happen, especially in this one, and I think I'm fairly sure this is what's going to happen with Doctor Strange too. I think as long as you have a passing knowledge of this is Doc Ock, this is Green Goblin, these are the actors who played them in the first films, I don't think they're going to dive too deep into, oh, well, Otto Octavius built his arms to build this reactor that he had to flood and blah, 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 poetry. Like, I don't think they're going to deep dive into like the specifics of those films. I think as long as you have a passing knowledge of what has come before, I think you'll be okay.
I don't mean about like that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is having you've got WandaVision, and then
you're talking about the multiverse stuff in general.
I'm talking about building up everything about the multiverse.
Yeah.
And then having this set up. If this is how they're setting up this new giant storyline they're going to do, and this is like a one-time thing, then that's going to be okay. But if this new setup with having Disney Plus and having all these mini shows, if they're going to start incorporating all of this stuff together into like one giant thing, like at this point, and this is what I meant by like you guys are on one side, I'm on the other. You guys have the knowledge. You're really into this.
Okay.
I'm more of just like a passing fan of this stuff.
I think Disney is aware of people like you, and from everything that I've seen, the Disney Plus shows are designed and I don't understand how exactly. They are designed to go like when you go into like Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange, you won't have to have seen WandaVision to understand what's happening in that film. You don't have to follow Loki. You don't have to like you don't. It doesn't all have to make sense. Like the films are going to be designed in a way that you can watch them and get more out of it if you've already seen those shows. But if you haven't seen those shows, you'll be okay.
I think to your point, that's what Feige said when they initially came out, and I think that has kind of been backtritten a little bit, because I think to an extent you need to know a little bit about Wanda from the start of WandaVision to the end of WandaVision to make her character make sense in Madness. And then I also think that you need to know the terminology at least of variance and what's the time place the time police called again?
TVA.
The TVA. Like I think you need to know like some of that stuff in order to but I don't think, to your point, I don't think you need to watch all of it or be invested into it, but I think you have to have that general knowledge.
So
at least
just addressing the WandaVision stuff real quick. If you go from Endgame to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and you don't watch WandaVision, you can easily have it explained away that like Wanda went grief crazy and like now has the Darkhold and is studying the multiverse, like to try to bring back Vision and like trying to like the kids thing is weird without it, but like I think easily you can sum that up in like Wong talking to Doctor Strange. I think that's something easily you can do. You miss out on the whole journey that Wanda takes in that show. So I guess that I can see it happening that you don't have to watch the shows. I just look at them as extra credit, like bonus material.
Yeah.
And we're really not going to know until the movie comes out about how they're going to handle it.
Yeah.
So there's that too. It's just, I'm worried about, because I mean, I have multiple interests and I know that you guys do too. Everybody has more than just one thing that they're really into. And it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, so I'm going to watch this on Monday, this on Tuesday. I'm going to be doing this on, Wednesday. And you've got all these things like planned out. And then you've got like, okay, well, I like the Marvel storyline. Now they're adding TV shows. I like the Star Wars storyline. Now they're adding more stuff. And then it just seems like the stuff that I'm into is starting to like each thing is its own balloon and each balloon is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I've got my like standard balloons that don't get any bigger than what they are. And they're getting like squeezed. And it's like at some point I'm going to have to pop one of these expanding balloons.
Baseball. It'll be baseball. Like.
Oh no, it won't.
That's what I'd say. I was like,
I'm sorry, but it's not going to be anything sports related that I'm going to be letting go of. It's not going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm right there with you, Ryan. Like for me, like I'm not this like I'm gonna jump on this like hype train like right like be there opening weekend the way that I was for like the first few phases. Like I'm at a point now where it's like I started faithfully watching What If, and then like at this point I think I'm like 7 episodes behind. So I'm just like,
same here.
I'll get to it when I get to it, man. Like,
and what's nice about What If is it's like off on its own little thing. Like you don't like it's not necessary for the MCU in general.
But I mean, I do the same thing with like all the other Disney Plus shows too, and like I think I ended up seeing like Shang-Chi and Black Widow like 2 or 3 weeks after they'd already been in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna simp for the Marvel stuff. Like I'm gonna go opening weekend when I can. Already have like my plans for Spider-Man worked out because I'm working on a short film that weekend, and I said to the DP, who's also a big Spider-Man fan, I was like, only thing I got planned that weekend is Spider-Man. So you let me know when we're going. And immediately he's like, this is the plan. We film for 3 or 4 days. We wrap. We go see Spider-Man. I was like, I'm in. Like Like, right now I'm just trying. Now I need to figure out my plans for Eternals, in November. So, because that's the thing that still has to happen. So,
Come to Richmond.
maybe we'll talk afterwards. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see more Eddie Brock and Venom sooner than I expected to. Like, I did not think that he would be in this movie. If he's in No Way Home, then I cannot wait to see Venom's reaction to Doc Ock and Electro and Spider-Man, and like I just can't wait to see how he interacts with that universe of characters.
It'll be interesting.
I'm not gonna lie, we got so far sidetracked on like our politics and views of the MCU that I totally forgot we were here talking about that.
Hey, it is what it is. Anything else we want to talk about before we wrap this up? All right. Well, that does it for this week's episode of You Have to Watch This Podcast. If you listen to this whole thing, thank you. You can like us on Facebook, find out what our episode's going to be next week. Ryan, we're doing an episode next week, right?
I think so.
Okay, yeah. Devin will be back next week. I think it's my turn to pick something, but I don't know what I'm going to have you guys watch.
Just message us.
I'll figure it out. But if you want to find out, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Josh, where can people find you?
So you guys can find me personally. I'm on TikTok. It's @GentlemanGhostface, and I am also on Letterboxd @Captain Nostalgia. You guys can follow me at follow Victims and Villains to go to victimsandvillains.net, where you guys can find podcasts, movie reviews, and most importantly, our mental health resource library, along with all of our social media. And
once again, the Horrific Hope. Do you want to touch base? Like, when can people tune in for that?
Yeah. So Horrific Hope is going to kick off with Alan and I talking about top 10 Simpsons Trios of Horror shorts beginning at 2 p.m. on October 22nd, and will go until October 24th, where I will be ending the stream playing Friday the 13th.
All right. And we'll be part of that for the podcast, doing our Halloween special. So tune in for that.
And
at
8 o'clock.
Follow us on socials for more details on that. Josh, thank you for joining us and filling in for Devin. Congratulations again to Devin and Romana, who are newlyweds. Like they're already married, but I don't know how to say just married in French because I don't speak French. But congratulations to them. Devin will be back next week. For You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Josh.
And we will see you next week, we think. Bye.